Namaskar and a very good evening. Mr. Justice B.R. Gawai, Judge and Chief Justice of India designate, esteemed colleagues, my retired judges who joined this occasion, which is special for me, thank you. Mr. R. Venkataramani, the Attorney General of India, Mr. Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General, Additional Solicitor Generals, Mr. Kapil Sibal, the President of Supreme Court Bar Association, Rachna Srivastav, Vikrant Yadav, members of the bar, including senior advocates and the members of the registry. I begin with a saying, often a person's true character is revealed in not what they say about themselves, but in what they choose to leave unsaid. I believe there's some truth in it, but this was not the only reason why I didn't speak about myself as a judge. The reason was reverence to the office. But now, as I stand here at the cusp of my retirement, if you permit me, I like to speak about my life and my journey. This is certainly an emotional moment for me. Having served on the bench for 20 years, I've attended many farewells. The sentiment commonly expressed on such occasions is that of mixed feeling, a bittersweet moment. Let me confess, I have no mixed feelings. I'm simply happy. I also feel blessed to have retired as the Chief Justice of India. For me, becoming a judge of the High Court itself was a dream come true. My earliest memories of the judiciary are shaped by watching my father's journey, from his time as a civil judge to his elevation as a judge of the Delhi High Court. Those memories stay with me and will remain with me forever. I was enrolled as an advocate at the age of 23, and at the age of 45, I had the honor of being elevated to the bench as a judge of the Delhi High Court. But the path wasn't easy. Between 2000 and 2005, I had a share of my stormy seas. But when the moment finally came, my father was no longer there to see it, and his elder brother, who has been my role model, could not share my joy as he was suffering from dementia. However, it is only after donning the robes of the judge that I truly understood the weight of responsibility bestowed on us by the Constitution and the people of this country. I also came to understand how demanding and exhausting judgeship can be. Within 3 months of my elevation, from September to December 2005, I was given a very heavy board, often hearing between 75 to 100 matters a day. I ended that period by reserving nearly 100 judgments. In January, I presided over the company court, which came with a slightly lesser board, and the judgments began rolling out. Again, from 2010 to 2017, by way of rotation, I presided over a bench that decided murder appeals and income tax appeals, the most unpopular rosters in the Delhi High Court. But I never saw it as a burden, and to my benefit, it gave me a deep and necessary connection with the kind of work that got me recognition in the Supreme Court of India. Then came my highest honor, one I neither pursued nor expected. At 59, I was called to serve as judge of the Supreme Court of India, and at 64, I had the privilege of taking the oath as the Chief Justice of India. Now at 65, as I prepare to retire, I do so with gratitude, reflection, and yes, with a sense of satisfaction. Age will see me off as a judge, And I can say this, I'm equally eager to get rid of the judge in me. This morning, as the robes were hung for the final time, the weight of responsibility lifted from my shoulders, and quite honestly, I felt a sense of bliss. In truth, it feels like a beginning of a new life, a chance to reclaim time, and to be just without constant pull of duty and long hours of work from before sunrise to well past sunset. I've been now working as a lawyer and then as a judge for 42 years, which I suspect must be close to the average age of this audience today. These 40 years and early years have been shaped by contribution by many. My parents lived a life of simplicity and moral uprightness, something they instilled in us very early on. Even today, they remain my moral compass. My mother was a professor in Hindi literature at the Lady Shri Ram College. My father, one could hardly see him. He was most often found in his paper books, with his paper books. Yes, my mother never wanted me to become a lawyer. She cautioned me, it's not an easy profession. Simplicity and straight talk do not always thrive. You will never make a living. I must admit, as a lawyer, I was never commercially minded. However, in retrospect, judgeship and legal profession has perhaps given me more than I deserved. That I could accomplish something without having to change myself is the credit and strength of our system. My mother will be happy and pleased that my decision was right. As an advocate, I had to start from scratch. While my father and uncle were strong influences, they never introduced me to seniors, nor did they steer work in my direction. I had to wait for 17 years before I could have half a chamber to myself. Initially, it was late Mr. Vikramjit Nair who extended me courtesy of sharing his chamber. That chamber was unlike the ones you see today. It was bare bones, no air conditioner, no telephone, just a table, a chair, and a fan. But this was a big boon for me. However, my first few months at the district courts and handling several cases in the fora gave me valuable experience across vast and distinct fields. It connected me to the common man. This proved immensely helpful during my tenure as a judge. Delhi High Court and the district courts had judges of impeccable integrity, knowledge, and razor-sharp intellect. I was particularly influenced by Justice Ranganathan, Justice Awadh Bihari Rodke, Justice Rajendra Sachar, Justice G.C. Jain. Later, I had the privilege to appear and argue cases before Justice R.C. Rehoti, Justice S.P. Sinha, and Justice Ajit Marsayat. Let me put it, as a judge, the law arrives in all its breadth. The roster shifts, the matters change, and one is expected to come up to the speed quickly, thoroughly, and completely. It's an exacting exercise. No other work can give you this experience and satisfaction. Let me share 3 important experiences which I've had as a judge. What moved me most in the Delhi High Court was my interaction with the young boys and girls and their families in the habeas corpus petitions. I saw these courageous young citizens challenging societal norms to choose who they would like to live with. Often their families eventually accepted their life choices. To make them feel at ease, I avoided the adversarial setting of the courtroom. Instead, legal aid counsels would meet them over a cup of tea in my chamber to offer comfort and remind them they were not alone. These moments gave me immense hope in the justice delivery system's potential, not just to resolve conflicts and disputes, but to drive social change and affirm human dignity. My second experience was as the chairperson of NALSA, which proved very impactful. I interacted with jail inmates, including under trials, socially conscious police officers, committed paralegal volunteers, and villagers who were aware of their rights. India is unique in that legal aid is not a privilege but a right given by law. It is extended not only to the accused but also to victims, family, and others in need. While our legal aid framework is strong, we need more advocates to embrace their core of duty by offering pro bono services to the needy. The third aspect which impacted me was the diverse schools of thought at the Supreme Court. Polyvocality, despite its problems, ensures varied presentations across multiple benches, acknowledges an array of perspectives within the judicial system. Though our voices may differ, there is harmony across the benches that shape the law. It enables the court to be more accessible and responsive towards litigants' needs who come from corners of the country. During my tenure, I have heard myself being described as by the book judge, a conservative one when it comes to giving relief. To ask myself honestly if there is a truth in this or something else or some correction is required, I analyzed. I turned to data and the nature of cases in which I was strict. As a judge hearing criminal appeals in the High Court, I found that I have overturned conviction in about 30 to 35% of cases, which figure was almost the same as any other bench. The difference was acquittals were more in cases argued by amicus than those argued by the senior counsels. Same is true of the income tax matters, as I never allowed technicalities of law to become a scruple for doing justice. For instance, I took a firm stand in cases involving circular transactions through shell companies, where dubious tactics were clearly at play. As my law clerks remind me, one of my often repeated phrases, let's not make a hyper-technical view. Our job as judges is to apply law in full measure. It is equally our duty to recognize that when law gives flexibility, to ensure that the right and wrong are dealt with appropriately. We often warn ourselves against dangers of bias, but we rarely do speak in the quiet harm caused when a judge lacks psychological strength. A judge's job is not to dominate the courtroom, but neither is it to surrender. To give a lawyer a fair hearing without fear, favor, or prejudice is a sacred responsibility. And beyond competence, a judge must possess an inner calm, mental resilience, and ability to remain unruffled, even in face of gravest provocation. As I step down from the bench, I like to speak about something which bothers me, truth deficit in our profession. As a judge, above all, is a seeker of truth. Mahatma Gandhi believed that truth is God, not just in spiritual sense, but as an ideal to strive for. As truth is just not a fact, it is a legal force. And yet we come across cases of concealment and deliberate misstatement of facts. I believe this stems from a mistaken belief that unless some padding is introduced in the evidence, a case would not succeed. This mindset is not only wrong, but it does not work. In fact, it complicates the process, making the court's job significantly harder. Because behind every falsehood, we are forced to dig deeper and longer to uncover the truth. Today, Today, we are also witnessing a sea change in the legal profession. The courtroom dynamics are shifting from being driven by oratory skills to being shaped by subject matter expertise. As preparation standards rise, it is essential for the bar to focus on becoming domain experts. The bar should also the bar should also make a conscious effort to explore fora of alternate dispute resolution mechanisms like mediation. The Supreme Court has made great strides in increasing the number of mediators in the country, as well providing training to the mediators. The day is not far when mediation will be chosen over litigation as a default mode of dispute resolution. Mediation is just not settling disputes, it is about finding solutions that meets the needs and interests of the parties involved. I'd just like to share one aspect before I conclude, and that is one goal which I've been able to partially achieve. For the first time in several years, we have achieved a case clearance ratio of more than 100%, reaching 106%. In simple terms, the Supreme Court disposed of more cases than they were filed, allowing us to reduce the backlog for the first time. I must thank all my colleagues and the members of the bar, without whose cooperation this could not have happened. I must also thank the officers working in the registry who ensured that we were able to implement many of the schemes which were launched, including the revamping of Section 1B. I have a lot of people to thank for shaping my journey, as I said before, but now I come to my colleagues. I just took out a list of the judges with whom I had occasion and privilege to sit with, and the list goes to 45. I cannot possibly take everybody's names, but I'm really indebted to each one who I have sat with for their support and acting as a check and balance. When we engage in thoughtful debates in chambers, or when we see a case completely differently, that is when I learn the most. What makes our court special isn't that we are able to think alike, it is that we don't. Each one of us brings something different to the table. Now, Justice Bhushan Gawai, my dear friend, to whom I'm passing the baton, there is something about Justice Gawai's style which I've always admired. He's remarkably approachable and invariably has something figured out. No fuss, no complications, he keeps it simple. His brilliance comes without pomp and show. It's just who he is. The court wouldn't be in better hands. Congratulations, Justice Gawai. We are all looking forward to your innings. Moving on, my team in my courtroom and the residential office. In my residential office in my house, I was ably assisted by my PPS, Kamesh, Chetan, Vipin, Ashish, and Umesh. At the courtroom, I was assisted by Mr. R.S. Narayanan, Deepak, Babita, and Sanjay. My chauffeurs, Subhash and Sachin. My residential staff, including Surinder Yadav, Nandaram, Surinder Kumar, Rajesh, Vinod, Shiv, Mithilesh, Ramesh, Raman, Abuja, Rai Singh, Anuj, and Sahil. My PSOs, Dinesh, Ajay, and Vinay. To my law clerks who have worked with me in the Supreme Court, Mansi, Shreyas, Nitin, Rajat, Pranav, Ayush, Ananya, Sambhav, Aditya, and Harni. To my current set of law clerks, Sayan, Prithviraj, Nayanka, and Roshni. I take great pride in the fact that all of them are first-generation lawyers. It is my law clerks who selected the next batch of the law clerks. Their sincerity, hard work, and fresh thinking have been great support to me, and I wish them all the best in their careers ahead. My family, to whom I have not been able to give time they deserved, Asha, Parul, Ravish, Uday, Tavishi, and my brother and my sister-in-law, Mahem and Rupali, you have been my constant support, the quiet strength behind me. While I was caught up in the demands of the profession, you stood with me with patience and understanding. As I turn the page, I look forward to spending more times with you. I must admit, I am not as poetic as the President of the Supreme Court Bar Association. But as I take your leave, I like to read out few lines which I have penned down with the help of my law clerks. It's not mine alone. There is a house built of red sandstone, a central dome and high ceilings, quiet libraries and bustling canteens, tense debates, prayers and reliefs. This is a place we call the Supreme Court. This is a place where justice finds a home. Thank you and Jai Hind.
I now request Mr.